So good morning everyone, my name is Lalit Soni and you are watching Drishti IAS. In this live session, we will be discussing the Indian Express newspaper. As usual, we will be trying to understand what is important for our examination. We will try to cover most important article for you. Okay, so in today's session, we will be talking about these three articles. Along with them, we will be giving passing reference to various others. But these three will be the, you can say, point of discussion today. That is Delhi's AQI and GRAP. So when we are talking about the pollution right now or the air quality in Delhi, so we'll be talking about that. We'll be seeing that what is AQI, your air quality index, and then we will also talk about the GRAP, that is graded response action plan. Okay, so these two things from your exams point of view becomes important. After that, we'll be talking about the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty, that is FFNPT. If you look at NPT, you might remember the nuclear proliferation treaty we have, or when we are talking about the non-proliferation with respect to the nuclear treaties, so that is also there. So on the same lines, we have come up with the similar treaty for the, you can say, fossil fuels as well. Okay, so we'll be talking about that, and then we will be talking about what is aphantasia. Okay, so what is aphantasia? So we will be talking about this particular condition. This is not a disorder, this is not a disease, this is just a condition we will be talking about. Okay, so that can be directly asked in your PYQ, you can say prelims examinations or the MCQ based questions. So we will be starting with the practice question which was given to you in the previous lecture, and then we will be going to the fact of the day, then constitutional amendments. Here you can see the front page of the newspaper. Here, Delhi breathes poison. So this is the article which we will try to understand. Other than that, also there is this one article which is given in the explained section with respect to the GRAP, so we will be talking about that article as well. Okay, other than that, Farid Zakaria, this is when we are talking about the foreign policy scholars, etc. So he is an important figure. He was there at some event, so if you remember the name, you can quote him in your PSIR related answers. Okay, so that is there. Other than that, when we are talking about the, you can say, Manipur situation, so that is not yet stable. So there are various things which are going on over there. We have talked about the Manipur issue when we were talking about the AFSPA. Okay, so we have discussed that, so we will not go into this right now. Okay, so let's move further and start with the practice question. Where is Chittagong, or earlier it was known as Chittagong, is located? India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Myanmar. Yesterday we have talked about some kind of shipment which has started from Pakistan and went to Bangladesh. This is the first time after a long, you can say, years, 1971. After 1971, if we talk about the, you can say, trade relations that was not very cordial with respect to Pakistan and Bangladesh, or any, when we are talking about the bilateral relations, these were not cordial because of the 1971 horror which has been imposed by the, you can say, West Pakistan on East Pakistan. So after that, you can say that this is one important significant development which has happened, for in which Pakistan has sent a shipment to Bangladesh on the port, that is Chittagong. Okay, so that is there in Bangladesh. Option C would be your right answer. Okay, now before moving further, I have this announcement that we are starting this new batch for GS Foundation prelims as well as mains, that is in the offline mode, English medium, on our Delhi center. 26th of November is the date on which it will start or get commenced. Okay, so you can directly go to the center and get enrolled, or you can call on this number, that is 8010440440. Number is given on the screen over here as well, so you can directly call on this number for any kind of inquiry. And before moving further, if you have not subscribed the channel, please subscribe it. Okay, now let's move further and start our discussion. In the facts of the day, I have taken 5 kind of conciliation, or you can say 5 type of ADR, alternate dispute resolutions, which are there in you can say jurisprudence. When we are talking about the ADRs, most of them, out of these 5, 4 of them are available in India as well. You can say these are there and used regularly. So we'll be talking about that. Now, what is ADR? If you have a dispute, you will knock the doors of the court. Okay, now if you don't want to go to the court because there is a long pendency which is there, and that can be hectic, etc. Okay, it can cost you a lot. So if you don't want to go to the court, then there is this alternative dispute resolution which is there. Okay, now there are certain ADRs which are available at any point during the dispute. If you are in a court as well and you decided to go for the mediation, that can also be possible. So the thing is, that is for the fast resolution of the disputes which is there. Okay, so that is your alternative dispute resolution. That means that other than court there is something which you can do. Okay, now let's start with the thing that is over here, that is arbitration. Okay, now when we talk about these kind of ADRs, this will generally be between the two party. There can be a third person which can be involved, or directly the two party can, you can say, resolve the dispute. Okay, there can be presence of counselors as well. Now let's see arbitration. A neutral arbitrator renders a decision called an award after there have been a presentation of evidence. Now in the arbitration there will be one party, okay, and there will be another party. Okay, now there is a dispute between these two. There will be a arbitrator, that is the third party over here, and he will be deciding the fate of the dispute over here. Now in this case, in the arbitration, you have to present the evidence, you have to give your document, and after understanding the evidence or investigation of the evidence, this particular person will give you an award. Okay, now that is basically your way through which you will be resolving a dispute. Here investigation will be there on the evidences. Okay, evidence will be taken and that will be you can say studied. So there is a third person who will be giving the award, that is there in arbitration, and this particular person will be known as arbitrator. Okay, so this is the first kind. Now moving to the second one, that is conciliation. Okay, now in conciliation as well there will be a neutral third party. Okay, now let's see, in conciliation there are two parties which are there, but there will be third party which will also be present over here on the table. Now this third party's job is to just transfer the information. Let's assume that there are two brothers who has a property dispute, but the problem is these two brothers are not speaking to each other. Okay, for some kind of emotional breakdown has happened, and now they are not talking to each other, and because of which they move to the court, but now they want to go for the ADR. Okay, but they cannot talk directly, or you can say if there are two rivals which are there, but they cannot talk directly to each other, otherwise they will start to fight. So that is why there will be a conciliation. Okay, so this conciliator, which is the third party, which will be there in between, that will exchange the information. He will take the information from this person and transfer it to this person. Like if there is a settlement offer, okay, so this person is saying that I'm willing to give you 5 lakhs for this particular settlement. Now this conciliator will be transferring this information to the second party. Okay, so that is what your conciliation is. So neutral third party to communicate with the parties in exchange of information and settlement options. Okay, so that is there. Now coming to the next one, that is negotiation. Negotiation is the quite normal process wherein two parties are negotiating with each other. Okay, there can be their lawyers which are talking. So basically one party will give you one offer, second party will counter offer it, and then they will come to a settlement. That is basically a negotiation. Here you can say traditionally occurs directly between the parties and their counsels, and does not involve a third neutral party. Here in the negotiation there will be only two parties which are there in the dispute. There will not be any other third party. Okay, then comes the mediation. It is a very flexible process that can be effectively used at any time during the course of the dispute. Now this is the you can say particular type of ADR. If there is a dispute which is there in the court and you decide to go for mediation, then court can appoint a mediator, or you can also come up with a mediator. Okay, so that is mediation. In this also there will be two parties and there will be third party who will mediate the process. Okay, so that is mediation. And coming to the next one, that is less popular in India, that is collaborative law. Both parties are represented by the collaborative attorneys and both parties agree not to litigate. Okay, so they will be represented by a particular person and they will agree that they will not go for the court, they will not start the litigation. Okay, and they will come up with the, you can say, solution with the collaborative law. Okay, so this is your fact of the day, in which we have discussed 5 types of ADR. Okay, if at all they ask you in the examination what can be the alternative you can say approach to justice, in that you can mention these things or make a diagram like this. Okay, so I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the constitutional amendment. There are 2 easy amendments which are there, that is 77th. Okay, provided for the reservation in the promotion in the government jobs for scheduled caste and scheduled tribe. Okay, so that is there in the promotions there will be reservation. That was that actually came up with the 1995 Act. Okay, then coming to the 80th, you can say 80th Amendment Act 2000. okay, provided for an alternative scheme for devolution of the revenues. Now when we are talking about the center and state relations, you know that one aspect is financial relation. For that we have a finance commission. Finance commission will recommend that how you can say distribution of resources will be, or the distribution of revenue will be there between the state and the center. So this particular Amendment Act has provided for an alternative scheme for the devolution of revenue between the center and state. This was enacted on the basis of the recommendation of the 10th Finance Commission. As I told you, Finance Commission will be telling you that how you will be, sharing the revenue, okay, what percentage you will be sharing. So on the recommendation of the 10th Finance Commission, which recommended that out of the total income obtained from the central taxes and the duties, 29% should be distributed among the state, okay. Now this is not very important for you to remember this particular amendment. What I tried to say over here is that when we are talking about the revenue sharing between state and center, Finance Commission is the body which will give recommendations. Now it is up to government to implement those recommendations or not, okay. This time when we are talking about the 10th you can say Finance Commission, so they have taken into consideration their recommendations and then they have actually gone for the you can say this particular amendment, okay. So there is this comment that they want to take a screenshot of last one, so you can take the screenshot over here, okay. Hold on. Okay, now moving further, talking about the today's newspaper discussion. First we will be starting with the front line headline which was there in the front page of the newspaper. So here you can say Delhi breathes poison. Now why we are talking about poison over here? So it is considered that in the last 2 days when we are talking about the air quality index, that has moved more than, you can say, 440, okay. So that is not very good for us to breathe in, okay, considering that there are various gases when we are talking about the environment right now. So there are particulate matter 2.5, then there are PM10, then carbon dioxide is there, monoxide is there, NO2 is there, SO2 is there, other kind of emissions which are coming from the, you can say, vehicular emissions, etc., that is there, industrial emissions is there, construction dust is there. All these things are there in the air. When you are breathing you are basically breathing the poison, okay. So it was somewhere I read that in this particular AQI, that is in some areas of Delhi, AQI has even reached more than that, okay. Now if you look at this AQI, it is equal or equivalent to smoking nearly 20 cigarettes a day, okay. So that is the kind of air we are living in. Anyways, so here you can say AQI at 494. City braces for the tough days as weather conditions are unfavorable. So AQI has been recorded like this. Now the thing is, what is AQI? We will be talking about in the further slides. Now they are saying that the weather conditions are not favorable. Why is that weather conditions are important? Now let's see. There are 2-3 things when we are talking about the weather, okay. So one is your temperature, second is your wind, third is your rain, okay. Now if you talk about the temperature, right now we are witnessing that we are into winters, but if you look at the kind of winters Delhi faces during the time of November mid, we are not even near that, okay. That means that temperature is relatively high, or you can say nearly 4 degree more than the average which we should have, okay. Why? Because the radiations which are received that has been trapped inside, okay. So that is because of the global warming, one thing. So we will not go into details of that right now. What is important is that wind. Whenever we have such pollutants which are there in the air, okay, now if there is a wind which is going at the faster pace or the faster speed, that means that this particular pollutants will also travel along with the wind, okay. They will go to the open areas and that get dispersed, okay. And if they are dispersing, that means that the concentration of these pollutants is decreasing. That will reflect into AQI. AQI is nothing but the concentration of various gases in a smaller area, okay, or the higher concentration of these gases in a smaller area, okay, because of which we are facing higher AQI. Now if wind speed is there, that means that will disperse the pollutants and we will face a better AQI to live in, okay. So that is there. Then coming to the rain. Now if rain is there, okay, and if we have these pollutants over here, so with the moisture, with the rain hitting over here, so that will start to suppress, okay. That will not be there in the air, they will be suppressing with the water, or you can say on the surface of the earth. That way the dust will also settle. Ultimately you will have a cleaner air. Right now we are not having such situation, neither temperature is favorable or nor wind or nor the rainfall, any kind of expectation of rainfall in the next 15 days. So that will be the case for the next 15 days. Okay. Now a combination of meteorological factors, high emission load from Delhi's own sources as well as stubble burning has led to the drastic AQI. What are the reason of this drastic AQI? One, we have seen the meteorological factors. Second is the vehicular emissions from Delhi's own vehicles. Third thing is your your industrial emissions. Other than that, construction dust, all these things are there. Other than that, in the nearby area we have this stubble burning, okay, because of which also we have these pollutants in our air. Okay. Now with temperature dipping but the winds remaining calm, pollutants concentration has gone up over the past 3 days. Okay. So that is there, and that situation will be here to stay for like next 7 to 10 days. Okay. Now coming to the things, Supreme Court for GRAP curbs even if the AQI below 450, flag delay in the action. Sorry. Here Supreme Court has said that you have to go for the GRAP phase 4. Okay, we will be seeing that what is GRAP and when which phase will be imposed. Okay, so we will be talking about that later. So here you can see what is happening because of this particular pollution related issues. Okay, so here you can say impact of PM 2.5 on health. When we are talking about the PM 2.5, this is so small that it will get inside the bloodstream. Okay, if it goes inside the bloodstream, that will impact the organs as well. Okay, so ultimately these particles are so small that will enter into the bloodstream and ultimately into the organs. So ultimately we will have the health hazards as well. Okay, so it will when we are talking about it can cross the alveolar barrier. Now what is this barrier? This is the barrier which is basically protecting your lungs. Okay, this is the barrier which is protecting your lungs from any kind of damage. But if these 2.5 are entering inside this particular barrier, they are crossing this particular barrier and then they are getting inside the bloodstream as well, and ultimately that will harm the lungs as well as the other organs, because blood flows through all the organs in the body. Okay, so that is there. Okay, kids in the area will have high PM 2.5 level, have smaller lungs when they turn 18. Okay, now let's say a person who has taken birth in Delhi and he has been living in this particular, he or she has been living in this particular conditions, so their lungs are weak. Okay, their lungs will have a smaller size. Okay, when they turn 18, it will not develop to a size of an adult, so they will have smaller size. Ultimately that will lead to asthma, respiratory functions or any kind of other infections. Okay, so that is there. Now what you can do to protect yourself? N95 masks which you have to use, though they are saying that there are high chances that these particles might even penetrate N95 as well. Okay, but still you have to use it. But the thing is, if you are using the same mask for more than 3 to 4 hours, then that is also not doing you any good. So that is also the problem. Other than that, you don't have to go for the heavy exercises, or you should not go for the any kind of activity which is putting pressure on your lungs. So that is there. Most probably, if possible, stay inside your home during this particular phase. Okay, so that has been given over here. Now use public transport as much as possible so that vehicular emission can be you can say suppressed. Now if you talk about the AQI in various areas of Delhi, so here you can see RK Puram 1050. These are the concentration of 2.5. okay, we are talking about the concentration of 2.5, so that is 1050 microgram per meter cube. Okay, and at high when we are talking about the highest, this is the highest one, or I guess yes, so Dwarka sector 8, that is having the 1110. Okay, that is the kind of air you are living in right now. Now moving further, and let's see what is GRAP. Okay, graded response action plan. The Supreme Court questions the Delhi government on Monday over the delay in implementing stage 4 of the GRAP. With smog and a high level of air pollution in Delhi NCR on Sunday, the Commission of Air Quality Management, we have CAQM, that is the Commission for Air Quality Management, that will be, you can say, issuing the guidelines with respect to the GRAP. Okay, had issued direction for implementing the stage 4 of the GRAP. Okay, that is on the Monday morning. Now Why this GRAP has been imposed? An official notification said air quality will likely to remain in this adverse range for the next few days owing to the heavy fog, variable winds and the high unfavorable meteorological and the climatic condition, which we have already discussed. Now let's see what is GRAP over here. Now GRAP stands for the Graded Response Action Plan, a structured approach to manage air quality emergencies. Okay, now when we are talking about the air quality, we have gone for the indexing of this, we have gone for various stages. Okay, and as per the stage you have to go for some kind of measures which are there, which we will be talking in the next slide. Purpose of GRAP: it is designed to implement emergency measures to prevent the further deterioration of air quality once a specific threshold is hit. Okay, we will be talking about this particular threshold over here. This is the same thing which we have talked over here. Let's see. GRAP is a set of emergency measures that kicks in to prevent the further deterioration of the air quality once it reaches a certain threshold in the Delhi NCR region. And this has actually come up with the Supreme Court, you can say, when we are talking about the judicial activism. So that is a result of judicial activism. Okay, so it was approved by the Supreme Court in 2016 after the Supreme Court's order in the matter of MC Mehta versus Union of India 2016. Please remember this case, that is MC Mehta, okay, versus Union of India case. Now here you can say there are different stages of you can say GRAP are given. First, when you have a poor air quality, okay, air quality between 200 to 300, then you can go for the enforcement of NGT, Honorable Supreme Court's order over the aged diesel and petrol vehicle. So aged diesel and petrol vehicle should be restricted in the first phase. Second thing is very poor from your 300 to 400. Now in this particular time you will be targeting the target to combat the air and identify hotspot in the region. Now in, let's say this is Delhi, and you will be identifying the hotspot where this particular pollution is high, and you will try to regulate these areas. Okay, regulate operation of the diesel generators and have been set across all sectors in the NCR. So basically here also you will try to curb the pollution. Then coming to the third one, that is severe, that is 400 to 450. Over here we impose strict restriction on the BS3 and BS4 diesel vehicles and the four-wheelers. So when we are talking about the BS3, these are the BS3 and BS4 are the old one. We have skipped the BS5. We have directly gone to the BS6. Right now in Delhi, BS6 norms vehicles are there, and if you are having that vehicle, so you will be allowed to use that particular vehicle because of the lesser emissions. Okay, and the BS3 and BS4 vehicles will be diesel vehicle will be restricted. Okay, so that will be there. And may suspend the physical classes in the schools for the primary grade children up to class 5. So that is there. Now coming to the next one, that is severe plus AQI, that is greater than 450. When the AQI exceeds 450, four-wheeler registered outside Delhi, except for the electric vehicle, CNG, BS6 diesel vehicles and the vehicle carrying the essential commodities will not be allowed in the city. Okay, so at this point of time, those vehicles who are registered outside the Delhi, and they are except for those which are having electrical vehicles or CNG or which are having the BS6 norm. Okay, so that can be allowed in Delhi. Otherwise, these four-wheelers will not be allowed in Delhi. Okay, at these particular stages, we will also you can say curb the construction activities, other emissions as well. Okay, so that is there with respect to the stages of GARP. Now talking to the next one, that is what is your air quality index. So here you can say this AQI is a tool for effective communication of the air quality status to the people in term which they understand. So basically they are going for the, you can say, bracketing them and color coding them. Okay, now graded response action plan for Delhi, which we have already talked about. Now when we are talking about the AQI, there are certain pollutants which has been added over here and certain has not been. Okay, so when we talk about the AQI, which what kind of pollutants we are considering, so here we have PM 2.5, PM 10, we have ammonia, that is NH4, we have lead, that is Pb, then we have nitrogen oxides, NOx, sulfur oxides, SOx, and then ozone, okay, and then carbon monoxide. Surprisingly, you will be seeing that we do not have carbon dioxide over here. Sorry, we do not have, yes, carbon dioxide over here. So please remember that we do not have carbon dioxide in the AQI, and other than that we are having this NH4, Pb, NOx, sulfur dioxide, ozone and carbon monoxide. Other than that we have PM 2.5 and PM 10. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. 8 pollutants are there in the air quality index. So I hope that is clear. Now we can move further to the next one. We have already talked about these stages. Stage 1, poor, very poor, severe, and severe plus. We have talked about that in the GRAP. Okay. Now we can move further and talk about the next one. Regulating fossil fuel like nuclear weapons. Okay. Now you know that when we talk about the 1968, we had a treaty, that is your NPT, okay, non-proliferation treaty, with respect to the you can say nuclear weapons, etc. So at that point of time, various international actors, they came together. They include the nuclear power as well as the non-nuclear power, and they have decided that they will not go for the further proliferation of the nuclear powers. Okay, so on the basis of that, they on ongoing COP, that is COP 29. In the COP 29, they have talked about the fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty. Okay, so they will be doing the same for the fossil fuels. Okay, when we are talking about the fossil fuel, mostly we are talking about the coal, petrol, etc. Okay, so let's see. Now, to curb the global greenhouse gases emission, the group of government and the civil society organizations are pushing for fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty FFNPT on the lines of the nuclear non-proliferation treaty, that is NPT, ongoing COP 29 climate summit, which is ongoing in the Baku, that is in Azerbaijan. Okay, so NPT was an international agreement signed in 1968 by several of the major you can say nuclear and the non-nuclear powers that pledged their cooperation in preventing the spread of the nuclear weapon and the technology. So that NPT is there, that has been signed in 1968. Please remember that as well. Okay, now on the same lines, they are talking about the FFNPT. FFNPT has been endorsed by the Colombia and 13 Pacific small island developing states. So these are the countries which has actually put forward the idea. Why? Because now these are at the, you can say, threat of the climate change. When we are talking about the island countries, so you know that if the sea level rises, these island countries will be facing the consequences first. Okay, so that is why they have come up with the this particular idea of FFNPT. So Colombia and the 13 Pacific states, they have actually endorsed this particular you can say treaty. Okay, along when we are talking about these 13 island nations, so we have the Vanuatu, Tuvalu, Tonga, Fiji, and the Solomon Islands. Okay, now there is this global alliance for the banking on values that has also said that there are 70 members over there in this particular alliance, and 25 of them are endorsing this particular treaty. Okay, now at the time when the world is on the track to be warmed by nearly 3 degrees, the kind of emissions we are doing right now, there are high chances that we will be, you know, touching the 3-degree mark. Our target with respect to the Paris Agreement was to curb the temperature at 1.5 degrees Celsius, or if it is not possible, then 2 degrees Celsius. Okay, now we are saying that there are high chances that we might hit the, you can say, point of 3 degrees Celsius as well. Okay, now for that we need to sustainably substantially intensify our effort to reduce the greenhouse gas, for which it is important that we should go for the restriction on the fossil fuel emissions. Okay, now what is FFNPT? The first conceptualized in the year 2016. That was the year after the Paris Agreement. When we talk about Paris Agreement, that was there in 2015. 1 year after the Paris Agreement, we have gone for this particular term, that is FFNPT, a year after the landmark Paris Agreement, and officially launched in 2019. This is the first time then when they have talked about it, and in 2019 it was formally launched. Okay, it proposes to make it legally binding on the nations and to fossil fuel extraction, wind down the existing production, and manage a just transition to renewable energy. So basically there are 3 components which are there. We'll be talking about that later. That is, one is your non-proliferation. That means that you should not go for the fossil fuel related productions. Okay, that is there. Second is the fair phase out. Slowly you have to take it out, and you have to make sure that no one who is working in that particular industry, be it worker, laborers, these should not be impacted by the sudden phase out, and that is why they are talking about a fair phase out. Okay, and just transition. From just transition, that means that they should you can transition from the fossil fuel to the you can say renewable energy. Okay, so that is there, which calls for the fast tracking the adoption of the renewable energy and economic diversification away from the fossil fuels, such that no worker, community or the country is left behind. Okay, so this is kind of when we are talking about the just transition, that is inclusive transition they are talking about. Okay, now what about India's strength? So right now India is not talking about it yet. Okay, initiative has not engaged extensively with India yet, as the initial focus has been on the smaller countries like Asia, Africa, Latin America. But as we move along, we will be talking about India as well, and there are few experts which are saying that that will be in India's favor to go for this. Okay, so that is about your FF NPT. Okay, so you can go through this article. Other than that, from your exams point of view or for your prelims point of view, there are 2-3 things which are important. One, you have to talk about the, you have to learn about the NPT, nuclear NPT, that was that was signed in 1968. Okay, so that is there, whether India is member of it or not, all these things you have to learn. Then second thing, fossil fuel non-proliferation treaty, we have talked about this. We have whatever we have tried to understand over there, we have talked about that over here. Okay, now the primary goal is to legally bind the nation to end the fossil fuel extraction, then phase out the existing production and just transition to the renewable energy. These are the component which has been discussed over here: just transition, non-proliferation and the fair phase out. Now putting this diagram over here, the objective behind that is that if you are writing mains or if you are working for your answer writing, etc., so such diagram will be helpful for you. Okay, so that you can reproduce these diagrams in the mains. Okay, now we can move further to the next one, that is basically your what is aphantasia. Okay, aphantasia. Okay, now A is the, you can say, prefix which has been used, and this is the word fantasia, fantasy, if you understand. Okay, so I'm not saying that it is exactly that. What I'm saying that if you have little bit of logic working for you, so fantasia and aphantasia, a person who is not able to fantasize. Okay, so basically over here if we see, this is the condition wherein when we are talking about, let's say I talk about USA. Okay, so when I talk about USA, what comes to your mind? Okay, so your visual cortex is there, and which is picturing a which is actually visualizing a picture of, let's say, US's flag or the map of USA, or maybe Joe Biden or Donald Trump, something like that comes to your mind when I say the word USA. Okay, if I talk about Apple, so there is a word that is which I use, that is Apple. So Apple comes in your mind, maybe the whole Apple or the Apple which is there on your laptops. All these things, these are certain visuals which are being created inside your mind. Okay, so basically this is the condition when you will not be able to create such visuals. Okay, now let's see, if I'm saying that there is a snake on the bark of a tree. Now the thing is, a person who is who does not have this condition, that particular person will be able to visualize that kind, something like that, there is a snake which is there on the, you can say, bark of a tree, so that can be visualized. But if there is a person who is having this condition, that is aphantasia, that means that he will not be able to visualize that particular thing. Okay, why this happen, when this happen, all these things we do not know. This is the recent study which was there, and according to that particular study, they have actually now given a name. When we are talking about the historical insights, here you can see the term aphantasia was first used in 2015. Now see how new this particular term is, that 2015 they have first come across this particular term by the neurologist, that is Adam Zeman. Though the phenomena was noted by the Francis Galton in 1880s. Now phenomena, that means that there are certain people who are not able to visualize. Okay, so that phenomena was noticed by this particular person, that is Francis Galton. But recently the term, or the, you can say, the identity has been given to this, that is aphantasia, by Adam Zeman in 2015. Okay, so that is the condition your aphantasia is. Okay, when some people cannot see in their mind. Okay, so I hope that is clear. You can go through this article, it is given in the very easy terms. Okay, and if we are talking about the prevalence of this particular condition, so that is nearly 2% of the people in the world, they might have this kind of condition. Now again, this is not a disorder, this is not a disease, this is just a condition. Okay, so that is about your aphantasia. The, you can say, other things are given over here. Aphantasia is a condition where the individuals have a little or no ability ability to visualize images in their mind. It is not classified as a disability, but rather a variation in the cognitive function. Okay. Now moving further, Competition Commission of India slaps 213 crore fine on the Meta. Now why they have slapped this particular fine? So basically what has happened is that okay, so basically Competition Commission is the body in India which is basically looking at the unfair practices which are happening in the, you can say, markets. If there is unfair practice, they will take cognizance of that, maybe suo motu or otherwise, and then they will, investigate the matter. Now when we are talking about the Meta, you know that WhatsApp is there, which is used in India. What happened is that in 2021 they have come up with the privacy policy, okay, and in that particular privacy policy you did not have to choose otherwise. If you want to avail the services of WhatsApp, then you have to agree with the conditions over there. Now India's antitrust watchdog, that has fined Meta. Meta is the parent company for WhatsApp, Facebook, etc. Okay, so that is there. WhatsApp has been fined with 213 crore rupees for abusing its dominant position in the relation to the messaging platform controversial 2021 update to privacy policy. So there was this privacy policy which was there in 2021, because of which they have actually, you can say, the misused their position in the market, because WhatsApp is, when we are talking about the messaging, WhatsApp is the most prominent app which has been used in various areas of the world. Or India, if we talk about, WhatsApp is like you can say everyone is using WhatsApp, so we can say that it is having a prominent position in the Indian market. And when they come up with the policies like that, if you want to use this, you have to accept the policy or you have to accept the condition. That means that you are misusing your position. Okay, so now how the privacy policy was implemented, and the user data was collected and shared with the other Meta companies. So what was the issue over here is that the one condition over there was that they will be collecting the data. Okay, obviously when you are using the app, data will be generated and data will be collected by the app. Now they said that they will be using this data and sharing with the other Meta companies. Let's say WhatsApp is there, now Meta companies like Instagram and the Facebook which are there, so they are saying that we will be collecting the data on WhatsApp, and that can be used for the advertisement on the Facebook and the Instagram. Okay, so that is basically was the policy which came in 2021, and we did not have the option to choose otherwise. So that is why they have taken the cognizance, and for that they have been fined this much amount over here. Now the commission also issued siege and the desist direction and directed Meta and WhatsApp to implement the certain behavioral remedies within the defined time. CCI's order, WhatsApp will not be allowing to share user data collected on its platform with the other Meta companies for advertising purpose for a period of 5 years. So basically now with this particular, you can say, fine, they have also given this order that they will not be using this data to share it with the other Meta companies. Okay, in January 2021, WhatsApp has notified users that it was updating the privacy policies, which was mandatory for them to accept. Okay, this is a take it or leave it basis, or the basis constitute an imposition on the unfair conditions. Okay, so basically you cannot go for something like that, you take it or leave it. If you want to use this app, you have to follow, you can say, accept these conditions. So doing that is basically exploiting their position in the market. So that is basically unfair means. And as I told you, if there is something unfair which is going on in Indian markets, the Competition Commission of India will take a cognizance of that. Okay. Now WhatsApp and the Facebook had challenged the probe in the Delhi High Court in 2021, saying that the issue related to privacy policy was already pending before the Supreme Court and High Court at the time. In 2022, the court junked further the appeals filed by the companies challenging the probe, saying that the WhatsApp occupies a dominant position in the market and has a strong lock-in effect, which renders its users incapable of shifting to another platform despite the dissatisfaction. So that is basically they have said that the privacy related issues are already pending in the court. Okay, but the court at that point of time has said that the WhatsApp is having such position that people are compelled to use the app. They will not be able to shift to another app. That kind of ease has not been provided by other apps. Okay, so that is why mostly people will be compelled to accept their terms and conditions to further using the app. That is why the CCI's order can be valid. Okay, now we can move further to the next one. That is basically in the major shift, Biden allows Ukraine to use US missile to strike inside Russia. Basically, earlier US missile were not used to strike inside Russia. Okay, there was a particular periphery under which these missiles can be used from Ukraine. Okay, now Joe Biden has said that they can be used for attacking Russia in inner areas of Russia as well. Okay, why there is this shift? Because you know that there are high chances that Trump, when he comes to power, then there are high chances that they might get a lesser aid, or you can say Ukraine might get a lesser aid, because when we are talking about the policies of Trump, that is looking inside. Trump has this phrase, that is America first. So you must have heard about Taliban and Afghanistan issue. So that was the time when Trump has actually transferred the power to Taliban and left Afghanistan. Okay, so such condition might be there in Ukraine. So considering that, right now, for whatever time is left, Joe Biden has allowed the Ukraine to use the US missiles. Over here you can see the Biden administration has allowed Ukraine to use the US made missile to strike inside Russia, marking a significant change in the US policy regarding the Russia-Ukraine conflict. Ukraine plans to conduct a long range attack in coming days using the ATACMS missiles, and the Kremlin labeled the decision as reckless and dangerous, vowing to respond accordingly. Kremlin is basically your Russia's you can say parliament. Okay, then moving further, Russian officials sees this move as an escalation and blames US involvement for intensifying the conflict. The decision came after months of the pleas by the Ukrainian President Zelensky for the advancement of the military aid. Now the US aims to counter Russia's military operation and improve Ukraine's defense capabilities as of now. Okay, coming to the next one, CMS missiles will target Russian military facilities, potentially shifting the battlefield dynamics. Analysts highlight the concerns over the escalation and the potential impact on the NATO relations. When we are talking about the NATO countries, the position of Turkey right now, or the Ukrainians also want to join the NATO, so that might have the impact in in the NATO countries. The decision was made just 2 months before the Donald Trump potentially returned to power, creating a political backdrop. Okay, so that is there, that before coming him into the power, this decision has been taken. The US Republicans, including Mike Turner, has expressed concern about the how far the Biden administration will go in supporting the Ukraine. As I told you, these two countries have different stance with respect to the supporting the, you can say, wars outside USA. Okay, so that is about this particular change in the stance. Now, passing reference or for your own read, there is this article that Chhattisgarh revives the tiger plants as a young visitor walks in the sanctuary. There is this sanctuary, that is Barnavapra. Okay, Barnavapada. So when we are talking about this Barnavapada, this is a wildlife sanctuary which is there in you can say Chhattisgarh. So there was this young visitor which was there, and considering that, they might revive the projects over here, tiger plants over here. So you can go through this article. They will be talking about the National Tiger Conservation Authority. They will be talking about the Project Tiger. Okay, so all these things should be on your fingertips with respect to the prelims preparation. Okay, so that is about today's discussion. Now we will be moving to the last part, that is your MCQ discussion. So let's see. What is aphantasia? Aphantasia, however you want to pronounce it. A disability in a visual perception, a condition with a little to no visual imagination, a disorder affecting hearing abilities, a condition improving the visual memories. Okay, so you can attempt this question and answer to me in the comment box. With that, I would like to take your leave. I'll see you in the next episode. Till then, have a good day. Thank you, and please subscribe the channel.